Okay, good morning, students. Let us continue with our discussion on the movie Offside, directed by the Iranian filmmaker Jafar Panahi. And let us see how it becomes a significant movie that represents and epitomizes the Iranian new wave. Okay, we had got introduced to Iranian cinema in general, and we also talked specifically about the movies of Jafar Panahi. And now let us focus all our attention on the movie Offside. Okay, allow me to go back to the presentation that we had begun the other day. So I think we had yeah, this is where we had stopped. Let's see, somebody is waiting to get into the class, I think. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the slide with which we stopped the previous class. We talk about the movie Offside, which follows a handful of women who get into the disguise of boys or young men and try to watch the 2006 match between Iran and Bahrain, a very important match, one that would ensure uh, Iran a berth in the World Cup to be held soon after this in Germany. And it was during the match itself in the Azadi Stadium of the city, capital city of Tehran, that Jafar Panahi actually shot most of the scenes. So you have a large amount of real footage here, but you, of course, have these performers as well. Yeah, the film actually begins with this old man who is trying to track down his daughter. He's riding in a cab and he's extremely disturbed because his teenage daughter has left home without his permission and he knows that it is to watch the match. And he is asking everyone whom he meets on the way if they have seen her. But people, youngsters especially, who are all traveling in different buses towards the stadium, just cannot understand his panic. Come on, enjoy the game. Let's all. It's a very powerful spirit of camaraderie, of togetherness, of oneness that unites them, and they just cannot allow this man to feel so disturbed. And they ask him to get into the bus. And in one of the buses, you have somebody here who's seen from behind. The camera does a very suggestive task there of showing the character here from behind. You seem to have a longish kind of cap that covers the person's head. And it is when one of the boys in the bus looks closely at her that he realizes that the person there is a young girl who has dressed up in men's clothes, and it is clear that she is trying to get her way into the stadium. She's smeared her face with the colors of Iran. She's worn the flag around herself and so on. And from the conversation that the young men have, we realize that there are many women like her who try to get in. And it is quite significant to note that many of the young men, they do not feel antagonistic towards the young girl. They understand the situation and they seem to sense the love that the girls also might have for the game of football, and they understand their urge to go into the stadium and watch the match live. And it is clear that there are many other women in many of the buses who have done the same. And as she waits outside, she looks through the windows of the bus, and you have the Azadi Stadium there in the distance. You have the crowd there waiting to get into the football match, and she notices the crowd. And there is especially, she notices this group of 3 people who walk towards the stadium, and it is clear that the person on the right side of this small group is actually of this photograph there. She's a girl in disguise. It is quite clear. And our friend here, the nameless girl, none of the characters have names. They're just girls, indicating the way Jafar Panahi is trying to tell us how, it's immaterial to give them a name because all of them share the same identity. They belong to the mass of young girls who would like to watch the match but are prevented by the government, by the very conservative government. And this girl who has worn dark glasses and who's dressed in boys' clothes, it is quite clear that she is a girl who is trying to disguise herself as a young boy and as a blind person because she's walking with another person who's probably blind. ഒരു ബ്ലൈൻഡ് ആയിട്ട് ഉള്ളിലോട്ട് പോകാനാണ് അവർ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നത്. And she notices, the girl in the bus notices how the other girl, that blind eyed act in a girl, as she tries to get into the stadium, she just drops something on the ground and and that is the only reason why she escapes the physical examination. ഈ സ്റ്റേഡിയത്തിലോട്ട് കടക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് the guards there stand and examine each person individually to see if they carry guns and so on. Of course, girls ഒന്നും ഇല്ല എന്നാണ് അവർ പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നത്. And she knows, the girl in the bus knows that if she is also examined like that, in no time at all, it would be discovered that she is a girl and she would be put behind bars. അപ്പോൾ അത് എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഒഴിവാക്കാം എന്നാണ് നോക്കുന്നത്. She notices that the girl who acts as a blind girl does this. കുനിഞ്ഞിരുന്ന് എന്തോ എടുക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് she escapes that examination. And the guard also thought that it was a blind person and probably therefore or somebody who was assisting the blind person. അപ്പോൾ അവരുടെ ഒരു കൂട്ടാളിയായിട്ട് അവരെ ഉള്ളിലോട്ട് വിടുകയാണ്. Anyway, that happens. So she too tries to do the same, but unfortunately she does not succeed. They notice that it is after much trouble that she gets the ticket itself. Or extra paisa കൊടുത്ത് black marketൽ വാങ്ങുന്ന പോലെയാണ്. She has to buy the ticket, and in addition the ticket seller, black market കരിഞ്ചന്തയിൽ വിൽക്കുന്ന ആള്, he also sells a poster, ഒരു ഇറാൻ പ്ലെയറിന്റെ പോസ്റ്റർ ആണ്, which he compels her to buy. ഇതില്ലാതെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ടിക്കറ്റും കിട്ടില്ല. So she's forced to buy both the ticket and the poster. But unfortunately, she is caught by the guards and she is taken to, it's very interesting to see the way she is taken up to one of the higher levels of the stadium, all the way up there. And it is there that she is put along with other girls in a pen, in a small enclosure. And on the way, ingotu povuna samayathu, this girl wants to make a phone call. She wants to inform her family that she is at the stadium, but the guard does not allow her to make the phone call. And he, in fact, gets the cell phone from her because ayalka cell phone illa, and he wants to make use of the opportunity to make a cell phone. He takes the battery away and prevents her from making the phone call. And now she is put along with the other women who also had tried to get into the stadium along with her. And avada nammal kannunnu that girl who had walked in with the blind person, as the third person in that small group, she has also been caught and she's also here. So there are at least 5 of them there. The group will become bigger soon. And these are the women. It is clear from their conversation that all of them have great passion for the game of football, but they are not allowed to see it for flimsy reasons. They കുറെ വളരെ irrelevant ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് പറയുന്നത്. One, the men will be playing in shorts and women should not see them in shorts. Then even if they go with their fathers or husbands or brothers, they may be father and husband and brother to them, but to other women they may be not father or husband, they may be strangers. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള വളരെ ബാലിശമായിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ്. And later we have these people engaging in a conversation and they say, when one of them wants to go to the toilet, again അവിടെയും പോവാൻ പാടില്ല because the walls would be full of graffiti. The women are not supposed to read that. ഈ എഴുതുന്നതിന് കുഴപ്പമില്ല, അത് വായിക്കുന്നതാണ് മോശം, കാണാൻ പാടില്ല. Similarly, when they sit in the stadium, the men will be swearing, they can do all that, and the women are not expected to hear that. See, ഇത് പറയുന്നതും ചെയ്യുന്നതും ഒരു തെറ്റല്ല, പക്ഷേ കാണുന്നതും ശ്രവിക്കുന്നതുമാണ് തെറ്റ്. That is how there is so much of imbalance with regard to gender relations in this country. And as they are put behind there, they are so eager to know what's happening inside the stadium. One of them is actually a football player, the person in the middle here. She plays football. She's a woman football player. And these people, the girls here know quite a bit about football. They discuss the moves, they discuss the rules of the game and so on. In fact, they are better aware of football than these men themselves, the soldiers here. They have the situation in Iran is that these men have to enlist in the army or a brief period, army and then they can go back to their homes and village and carry on with their work. These people have been put on army duty outside the stadium, and they ensure the fact that these women are kept behind this gate here. And they are so eager to know, and they get, it's very interesting to see how they get glimpses of the match. Ivida ninna oru officer, the security officer, he narrates the commentary to them. He watches the game being played and he narrates it, and that is how the girls get to experience the football match. It is so sad, actually. They are so close yet so far from the real action. And all along, we realize, we as the audience, the girls, you have so many levels of audiences here. The match is going on, real audiences. How do we know about them? We hear the sound that they make. They play the vuvuzela madriyulla musical instrument okke vaayikkunnund, and we know that they are there. Avare pakshe nammal kaanunilla. Then you have the next level of audience, who's that? Security people who can look through the bars and somehow see it, and with their commentary, you have the next level of the audience witnessing or experiencing the game. Adana ee penkuttikal. And ivare ellam kaanunna nammal. We are here watching the movie, watching these different levels of performance. Okay, it's a very, very strategic use of levels, different levels of audience experience, so that we at this end experience what each level of the audience might be feeling. And by withholding from us throughout the movie the real action of the football match, Jafar Panahi ensures that we also, that is how Jafar Panahi ensures that we feel the same kind of frustration as the girl. So you have, this is what happens. And you also get to know something about, the soldiers, where they come from, what their life is like. They're all mainly people who have been forced to enlist in the army, and they belong to villages far away from Tehran. Many of them actually long to go back to their villages and carry on with their work there, with their pastoral life there, tending the cattle, eating the food cooked by their mothers, and so on. And they're just not happy with the assignment. They would much rather be at home relaxing. So the soldiers describe the match through the bars of the cage, and you can find the girls feeling all frustrated. They're very anxious, not only about their being not allowed to watch the match, but also about the real situation in the stadium. They wonder if Iran would be able to match up to Bahrain, and whether they would be able to perform well to win the match. And in the midst of all this, you have this girl, the person there on the right side, who I told you is a real football player, which is evident to us in the conversations that she has with the soldier. She has this desperate urge to pass urine, and she has to pee, but she has been holding it, and they do not allow you have it here, and you do it here, and but she says, no, it is desperate, I need to go. But they can't allow her to go to the toilet, because the toilet is inside the stadium, and if they take her inside the stadium, she will watch the match. And even the toilet is full of graffiti written by the men among the audiences, and they cannot allow the women to be corrupted by reading these messages that they have inscribed and written and scrawled on the walls. Look at the irony of the situation. In any case, the soldier is desperate. He says, okay, I will take you there. Pakshe, look at the strategy he employs to make her not see the graffiti written in the bathroom. He uses the poster which the girl in the bus was forced to buy. Our poster editor, he removes the lace from his own shoe, and with that lace, he makes it a mask. The poster is now made into a mask, and when she wears it, of course, she can't see naturally. It's a very light-hearted take, but at the same time, it conveys so much about control. Throughout the movie, you realize how vision is being curtailed and controlled. And then he makes 2 holes in the eyes of this player, and that is how she's able to watch where she is going as she's taken to the toilet. But from this enclosure all the way inside to the gate that would take her inside the stadium, and from there to the bathroom, you find the roof. Football stadium roof it is the covered stadium, in the sense that the galleries are covered, and a gallery you can follow the camera and see how it is all you have so many lines, all these symbols, national symbols are of the terrace cement mark, as you can see in the last photograph there. At the Muruneelam, you can watch it, and it is a very powerful way of suggesting how these people are so much behind bars, and how their life is so regimented by all the restrictions, all those lines and crisscrosses, marks, they have all the control measures, all the regimentations that they are forced to endure. The scene la clear right. Yeah. So, and then she leads the way. As I told you, football she's the one. He's from a rural area. She's from Tehran, and she's the one who tells him about their matches, the coach that they have, and so on, about football matches in general. And then you have, once they reach the toilet, a very, very humorous sequence where this man, the soldier, has to ensure he has to ensure that all the men who are already inside the toilet have to come out. Only then will she be allowed to use any of the toilets. And, she has to hold out. And we are also made to feel in the way that the girl's movement, trying to control her urine, control you find her movement. Camera control, and we are also made to feel that very powerfully he has captured that. And then once the men have all been once the soldier thinks that all the men are out, he allows her to go in. And then you have a fresh batch of youngsters coming in, and the soldier prevents them from using the toilet. Look at the way the men are now made to feel that sense of being controlled, in exactly the way that the women are prevented from watching the match. You now have the same story being told from the point of view of the boys when they are prevented from passing urine, something that should be as natural as passing urine, something that should be as natural as watching the match. All of these in the name of man-made ridiculous laws being controlled. And the humor doesn't end there either. The soldier, who is the representative of the regime here, look at the ridiculous extents that he goes to. He overhears some conversation. He girl bathroom ulla samayathe, toilet ulla samayathe, he overhears some conversation. Hold it lower, good ennaka parayum. and he assumes that ഈ കേൾക്കുന്നത് മുഴുവൻ somebody is having some kind of sexual relationships with someone else there. അവരെ തമ്മിൽ ഒരു ഫിസിക്കൽ ആക്ട് അവിടെ നടക്കുകയാണെന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചിട്ട് he goes and peeps in ഇങ്ങനെ eavesdrop ചെയ്യും, and then he tries to open ഒരു bathroom അല്ല ആരും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല, and then when he pushes open the door from behind which he hears that, he realizes that this is actually only a grandfather and his grandson, and they are helping each other to push the wheelchair. He is bound to the wheelchair and he has to make it lower എന്നൊക്കെ ആ കുട്ടിയോട് പറയുന്നതാണ് അവിടെ കേൾക്കുന്നത്. So it's a very humorous yet a very powerful message that the filmmaker conveys through this. Yeah, so this is that humorous sequence. And then as these men are being held by him not to go into the toilet, here out comes the girl and she runs out. Why does she run out? She wants to catch at least a glimpse of the match. Korchenglum കാണാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് she runs out, and look at the young men there. The one wearing the green cap there. He allows her to go. He does not hold her back or he does not treat her as an enemy. അത് അതിൽ വളരെ ഒരു സജസ്റ്റീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഷോട്ടാണ്, the way he allows her to go. And then once she runs away, our soldier is in trouble, because if he was put in charge of her, if he is unable to take her back to the enclosure, he would be, his army tenure would be extended. ഇയാളുടെയും മറ്റേയാളുടെയും ഒക്കെ അത് tenure extended out, and that is what they do not want to happen at all. They want to go back to their village, and this is the only time when we get to see a bit of the match. Why do we see that? Because the girl is already inside and she has stolen a few glimpses at the match. Adana nammalum ivide korchu nerathekku കാണുന്ന the establishment here through the character of the soldier here tries everything possible to block the view, but he has to return to the enclosure, and there you have the other soldiers. They are cursing him. What do we do? But the girls inside, especially the girl that looks almost like a boy with a cap and wears exact kind of boy's clothes, she keeps saying no, she will return. You do not know the trust of a Tehrani in the parna. E soldiers no parayana, I'm sure that she will return. And in fact, after some time she does return. They are all, this is a return ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് she engages in a conversation with this man. He's sitting down there, she kneels down and says, come on, let's have some chit chat. ആ സമയത്താണ് ഇയാളുടെ ഈ ഒരു വില്ലേജിലും ഇയാൾക്ക് തിരിച്ചു പോകാനുള്ള ആഗ്രഹവും ഒക്കെ അവർ പറയുന്നത്. And he also tells her about the rules. ഈ കോൺവെർസേഷനിലാണ് നമ്മൾ the ridiculous nature of the rules ne kurichu koodal manasilakunnu. And in between that, there is someone else also who is brought into the enclosure. She's a girl who's dressed like a soldier, dressed like a soldier. She had tried to get into the stadium, പക്ഷേ ഏതോ ഒരു സ്റ്റേജിൽ they detected that she was in fact it was in fact a girl, and she is now brought and they are made to occupy that enclosure. Apurana namalde and they are quite impressed with her clothes. How did you get this outfit? Isn't it cool? And very interestingly, she says oru man perana adile ezhuditullathu, with just the addition of an a, it becomes my name ennaanu parayunnu, indicating how it is just a question of a little syllable, and athre ullu oru difference, but the kind of situation that is created out of this gender divide in a country or in a regime, in an establishment that does not understand the basic similarity between all human beings. That is what is conveyed there. അതിനിടയിലാണ് നമ്മളുടെ ആദ്യത്തെ the first person we saw who was going all around in search of his daughter. He reaches that. It's a stadium മുഴുവൻ നോക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, പക്ഷെ അവിടെയുള്ള thousands of people ഇടയിൽ he is naturally not able to see his daughter, and now he has come to this area where he asks the soldier to help him. Can you tell me, I want to see my daughter എന്നൊക്കെയാണ് പറയുന്നത്. And In between there is another bit of conversation. The girl who had gone to the toilet, she's not come back. And ഇവിടെ ഒരു പുതിയ ഈ soldier ആയിട്ട് dress ചെയ്ത ഗേളിനെ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന the other officer, he says, you will be in trouble if you do not return the girl. Anyway, ഇവിടെ കുറെ girls ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, why don't you make one of them, present them as the person. അപ്പോൾ ഇയാൾ ചോദിക്കാം, are girls watermelons that I can find them in the market? Again, a very, very suggestive sentence that the man asked. That is exactly how they are treated. And when it is from his point of view, he asks, can I find women like that, whom I can present? These women, he just cannot present as the one who has escaped, because ഇവരുടെ ഓരോരുത്തരുടെയും പേര് അവിടെ ഓഫീസേഴ്സിന്റെ കയ്യിലുണ്ട്. And the man now comes and, these people, the soldiers tell him, you can see whether they are here. ഈ കൂട്ടത്തിലുണ്ടോ? ഒറ്റ നോട്ടത്തിൽ all of them look like men. And he says, ഇവരൊക്കെ സ്ത്രീകളാണോ? And then the soldier says, yes, they are women. So he comes closer, he watches each one. He knows that they are, not the one, not the one that he's looking for. But when he comes to this girl, each other, she was dressed in boys' clothes till then. But he looks at her and then he asks her to show her face. Show her face in the parnal. She can only show her face by wearing the parda or the chador എന്നാണ് അവർ പറയുന്നത്. അത് ഇട്ടിട്ട് അതുവരെ റെക്കഗ്നൈസ് ചെയ്യാത്തയാളെ he immediately recognizes her. See the amount of significance they attach to this kind of clothing that they expect the women to wear. അത് wear ചെയ്താലേ അവർക്ക് സ്ത്രീകളെ recognize ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നുള്ളൂ. And then he knows that this is his daughter's friend. He slaps her actually. അപ്പോഴേക്കും soldiers ഒക്കെ വന്നിട്ട് ഇയാളെ prevent ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. But why does he slap her? Because he believes that this girl is the bad influence on his daughter Mariam. അയാളുടെ മകളുടെ പേര് മറിയമാണ്. Mariam spends time with this girl and she is the one who corrupts her. ആ കുട്ടിയെ മോശമാക്കുന്നത്, ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഫുട്ബോൾ മാച്ച് ഒക്കെ കാണാൻ പ്രേരിപ്പിക്കുന്നത് ഈ കുട്ടിയാണ്. He's about to manhandle her, but the soldiers prevent her. ഈ സമയത്താണ് the one who had gone into the stadium to watch the match, she comes back to the surprise of everyone. And they ask her, why did you come back? You could just have escaped to victory. But she says, or you could have watched the remaining part of the match and just gone back home. But she says, I felt sorry for his cattle. നേരത്തെ ആ soldier പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നല്ലോ, I have to go back home and look after my cows, tend to my cattle എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു. And she said she did not feel sorry for him. She says, I felt sorry for his cattle എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് തിരിച്ചു വരികയാണ്. And then she narrates she was really thrilled to see the bit of the game there. She comes back to the holding pen, and there, in a very, very significant part of the movie, either I think is so beautiful. This is the most important part of the movie, I would say. She comes back and describes to the others the action that takes place. And other describe cheyanaita, she says this is how it happened, and she's describing each move in the stadium. And that tiny little enclosure, she makes it a football ground. She draws a halfway mark there. Idoru cheriya space aanu, but she makes use of that space to create a third space, a space of immense possibilities. It is Jafar Panahi, the filmmaker, pointing out how through art you can create that third space for everything. Ivideയാണ് the third cinema ആകുന്നത്. This is where art takes it to the level of a third space, and she gets everyone to participate in the game. You have a parallel world of football emerging there. Even though the establishment has prevented them from watching the real match, you have these people creating a match for themselves in this third space. Each one of them is made to enact the role. Oro football player, they know all the players, and one of them says, I'm not short like that player, but still. And then, what is most important is the way in which the third space is always an inclusive space. Mate space la avare excluded ana, but here the soldiers are in fact made to enact the roles. One of them will be a Bahrain player, the other will be an Iran player. So she includes everyone, and you have proper discussion on the game. One of them is worried about what formation. She's so familiar with the coaching tactics. 4-4-2 ആണോ 4-3-3 ആണോ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് for a good 5 minutes you can watch this beautiful alternative football match taking place in this third space, elevating the movie to a level where it tells us about the immense possibilities of art. I think in a micro narrative, this part of the film actually encapsulate what new Iranian cinema is all about. Iranian new cinema is all about. This is how it has negotiated itself through all the regimentations and all the curtailing measures. This is how it has found its own voice and made a name for itself. It has created a third space for itself. In spite of all the measures imposed by the government, restricting them against free expression, they have found new ways of expressing themselves. It's a very, very significant part of the movie. And then, of course, you have the match resuming, and then their attention is all on the match. The soldier there is giving them a live commentary. These are some of the important players, Madhavikia and Zandi. Both of them are behind the ball, and you can see the excitement on the faces of the girls. You will notice the expression on the girl in the bus, the face of the girl in the bus. ഇവിടെ ഈ സമയം വരെ ഷീസ് നോട്ട് സോ ഫുള്ളി എൻഗേജ്ഡ് ഇൻ ദ മാച്ച്, ഷീസ് നോട്ട് ഫുള്ളി ഇൻവോൾവ് ഇൻ ദ മാച്ച് എന്ന് നമ്മൾക്ക് വളരെ ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ട് കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. And then, outside the stadium, they are, celebrating the goal that has been scored. And, look at the way the soldiers there, even though they could have, like any other Iranian, watched the match and celebrated the goal. Look at the man there, so conscious, that old man there. Or a goal ivida score cheyan, he had got into the stadium, he could have watched it, but look at what he is burdened with. He has placed upon himself the burden of restricting his girl from watching the match. Our burden karanam, he is in fact actually the one who has got excluded. He has excluded himself. When you practice an exclusionary tactic, you become excluded yourself. That is so much powerfully conveyed by these scenes. The goal is scored, and then the girl, in exactly the way that they would have it in the stadium, they form the huddle, they cheer their team, the team of Iran. And even though this is a country that has imposed so many restrictions on them, they just forget all that. They keep saying Iran, 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 long live Iran, hip hip hurrah Iran. And then Iran, has riddled you with goals. They echo the same slogans and cheering and shouting that the men inside the stadium echo. Basically, there's no difference. Even though there is that big wall separating from the men inside, ultimately they end up doing the same kind of things. The men inside are celebrating, so are the women outside. Yeah, but then even before the match has ended, the bus comes, to take them to the vice squad. That is a kind of a court where they will have to go. Durguna Padashala ennokke parayunna pole, they have committed a vice. What is that? Trying to enter the football stadium. Adina, they would be punished. They would be given some kind of punishment, and they are taken in the bus to the stadium. And a busla there is a young boy who is also punished. Why is he punished? Because he has been carrying firecrackers, and either allowed alla, and therefore he has been put, he's also traveling along with them. Avaru kore examine chedu, they have found some more firecrackers from him, and so he is also punished. Then he's trying to have some conversation with the drivers, asking them to switch on the radio, and they he uses the word a chick or something, referring to the girl who looks exactly like a man, and she comes and bashes him up. His eyes are all swollen now, and he's crying. He never expected to get that kind of a nice thrashing from a girl. Again, very humorous. At the same time, it leaves a powerful message. And another very humorous incident is one where the girl who was dressed in the army clothes, now she's crying. Why is she crying? She says, my punishment is going to be worse because I'm an army officer and I will be court-martialed. Our army officer, she's only worn the army clothes, but look at the way she says, I'll be court-martialed. Army officers, they don't face the normal court. Citizens face in the court, they have to be court-martialed. Army court try. And she says, I will be tried by the army court and I'll be court-martialed and so on. But the others cheer her up, and even with the handcuffs on, they now sit down, and you have this young boy now. She bashed him up. But when he sees her smoking a cigarette, nonchalantly, he's desperate to get the cigarette. And, the cigarette becomes their link now. He comes asking her for a cigarette, but she says she's exhausted all her cigarettes. But then, all of them sit there and enjoy they're discussing the game and so on. And again, inside the bus, you find the stadium being recreated. It's almost as if they're all sitting inside the stadium and watching the match. Iduvare avare players ayathu that possibility kaanichu thannu, and inside the bus, the possibility of their sitting and watching the match as audience inside the stadium. The bus becomes the stadium, and you have the radio inside. One of them is very, very thirsty, and the soldier says, I'll go and get the water for you in the parna. When he comes back, he comes not just with water for her, he's brought drinks to everyone. The way that the game of sport, the camaraderie that he experienced inside it, he too feels one with them. He does not treat them as prisoners that he is in charge of. He empathizes with them, and he gets drinks for all of them, exactly in the way that you would have, a little some people bringing in drinks into the stadium, popcorn, drinks, some snacks, drinks. In between, you see a tiny bit of a television screen there. They are looking at the television screen, and you can sense, the excitement of the people inside the bus as they watch the match through the window of the bus and on the television screen. But the bus has to move soon, and that is when he brings drinks all around, and they want the radio to be switched on, at least commentary englum kelkam. But then there is something wrong with the radio, and I'm sorry, the soldier there, you find him again, making an all-out attempt to get the commentary ready. Antenna has to be held in a particular position. Only then will it be clear, will the radio commentary be clear? And he does that. And very interestingly, when he, edges himself out through the window of the bus, what he does is he removes that cap. The cap there, the symbol of the authority, the symbol of the regime, the symbol of the establishment, the power with which the girls are held in check. That remove cheyidittu, in a very human gesture, he okays the antenna of the radio so that the commentary is clear and you can sense the excitement. The commentator there is saying, in front of a crowd of 80,000 people, we are on the verge of history. Iran could qualify for the 2006 World Cup in the Parayana Samayatthekkum. You can again observe, the way that these people are seated exactly as they would be in a stadium, and also notice the changing expression of the girl in the bus. She is now tilting towards them and taking more of an active interest in the game. And finally, the moment does come. Avarkku penalty kittan Iran had. That's a very, very interesting part of the game, actually, when Bahrain is awarded a penalty. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവർക്ക് പെനൽറ്റി കിട്ടിയത്? Because Iran did a foul. What was the foul? They became offside. Offside ആയ കാരണം they committed a foul and therefore Bahrain won a penalty. പക്ഷേ penalty strike എടുത്ത സമയത്ത് it did not materialize as a goal, and therefore at the end of the match Iran won the game 1-0, and Iran could thus go forward to the World Cup finals in Germany. And the jubilation on the faces of the girls, even the handcuff there becomes an object of celebration. And she's using it almost as a bangle as she bangs it, and everyone is so jubilant. And out comes the firecrackers. This boy has got an unending supply of firecrackers. അത് എവിടുന്ന കിട്ടുന്നതെന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ I can't reveal my sources എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. But inside the bus now, exactly as it would be inside the stadium, you have the people bursting firecrackers, or ചെറിയ രണ്ട് പടക്കം ആദ്യം പൊട്ടിക്കും, and then he's come out with these sparklers and giving it to everyone. In between, you find the girl in the bus covering her face and crying, and we discover when the others come and talk to her, we realize that she came to the match actually not because of any love for football. ആ കുട്ടിക്ക് ഫുട്ബോളിനെ കുറിച്ച് വലിയ ധാരണയൊന്നും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല, but she came for a friend of hers. That friend was was part of a group of people who were killed during the previous qualifying match. Iran had played against Japan. ആ മാച്ചിനെ കുറിച്ച് നേരത്തെയൊക്കെ പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. The women from Japan were allowed to watch the match, and what is the difference between the women of Japan and the women of Iran എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സമയത്ത് the soldier says they don't understand Iranian. അപ്പോൾ ഇവർ പറയുന്ന swearing words ഒന്നും അവർ കേൾക്കില്ല, അവരുടെ ears corrupted ആവില്ല എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. Similarly, anyway, now she says her friend had come to watch the match, and in the stampede, തിക്കിലും തിരക്കിലും 7 people had sadly died, and one of the 7, one among that 7 was a close friend of hers. If he were alive, he would definitely have come to watch this match. Appo aa friendine venditana she has come to watch the match. Look at it's a very powerful statement that is made by the filmmaker through that story. She is in tears, she remembers, and the others console her, and then you have all of them celebrating. She asks for sparklers herself, and she chooses the kind of sparklers that she wants. The longish nammalivide pencil ennu parayna aa oru kind of sparkler aanu, which will last for some time. Cheriya sparkler kambi pootiri madriyalla, this is slightly thicker and longer also, and he is all too willing to give it to her. By this time, the roads are all blocked because there is jubilation everywhere. There is no difference between the scene inside the bus and the scene outside. Everyone is jubilant, and you have them, the boy coming and giving the sparklers to the soldiers themselves. Avaru polum, they uphold not the law but the sparklers of jubilation, in conveying the way in which sports, something like sports, a game of togetherness like sports or football, a football match can actually bring people together and convey to us the truth regarding the unity, the similarity of human beings everywhere, in spite of the differences that we have erected between them. The soldiers join the jubilation, and the jubilation ends only when the soldiers are pulled out of the bus. The crowd there says, no soldiers inside the bus. They make them come out, and soldiers dance. The soldiers now dance. Dance is, of course, a way of art. So here is the regime becoming transmuted into the language of art, one can say. The soldiers dance and they become part of that large crowd. It is a beautiful scene. I really would have loved to watch the movie with you, പക്ഷേ ഇപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് സമയമില്ല. I think Elizabeth ma'am is probably waiting to get into the class with you. And finally, you have the movie ending with that beautiful song, "O Iran, the land of jewels. Your soil is a wellspring of arts. It is not a wellspring of hatred and division, but of arts." And the song continues to talk about the glorious unity that can be brought in by the arts എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് ആ പാട്ട് അവസാനിക്കുന്നത്. So the football match ends with the song and the girl in the bus going forward into the crowd with both her hands carrying the sparklers and leading, you know, her way into the crowd, leading light into the crowd. She becomes, she there becomes a symbol of, what shall you say, a source of light, the illumination, the way that films and art can illuminate and allow people to see the folly of their actions and allow people also to realize the oneness of all everywhere. So that is what the film is all about. Even when it, look at the way in which it has raised its protest. At no point do you find that the filmmaker, do you feel that the filmmaker is making a harsh statement of protest. On the other hand, it is done humorously with light-hearted touches, but with very subtle, powerful messages conveyed all along. And the journey is one that goes along the trajectory of hope. It is a hopeful journey that Offside is. The journey from fear and confusion to joy, understanding, and togetherness. At each stage, you find, this conflict between control and freedom, and ultimately, it is liberty which wins. The girls realize that, everywhere there is a kind of, there are people waiting to flag them as offside, but they will find a way through it. Yeah, so his clever strategy, he does not condemn the government with hatred, but he undermines its policies from within. In a very subtle way, we are made to see the situation. And all along, the movie reveals empathy, oodles of empathy, I would say, existing in defiance of the country's oppressive regime. The way out of this oppression is nothing but love and togetherness. That is conveyed throughout the game. So, if you have not watched the movie, do watch it and experience the jubilation that these girls experienced and made even their state of imprisonment an occasion for joyous celebration. I think I will stop there. Yeah, this is about Panahi. You can read it yourself.
Ma'am,
He's showing us the joy that can bring those in conflict together for a mystical moment of celebration. Such moments give us hope that this weary and war torn world can one day become one. I think that is the beautiful message with which I would like to end my classes with you. This is my last hour with you, which is why I was hoping that everyone would be present in the class. I do not know how many are here. We are only 17, yeah, which means 2 are missing. So we bring the curtains down on 2 years. Of course, you have your assignments and seminar work to be completed, that is there, but as a proper lecture, this is the last hour. I think I will close with a message based on the movie itself. I think we learn from the movie that, the world is out there, always looking out for occasions to point out our faults, to see where we foul, and they will erect rules against us, call us offside. But even when the world turns you offside, find a way. Negotiate your way through all the situations, through all the difficulties, through all the trials and tribulations. And in your own individual way, you can achieve success. All the very best.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.